You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Give me. Oh, wow. I already had permission to record.
I did. You know, after 400 of these.
I think that should just be the intro to this episode. Welcome into the latest edition of the Show Before the Show podcast, episode number 400. I'm not editing that out, Sam. Samuel P. Dykstra, Benjamin J. Hill.
Very close.
Dang it. And I'm Tyler Mond. Welcome to the 400th episode of the Show Before the Show. Sam's hair looks resplendent today. Ben's in a very comfy looking button down. And I'm, here. Guys, how are you? Congrats. 400 episodes. Amazing.
Yeah, you make it sound like you're congratulating us when you were very much involved. You were more involved than either of us, really. You were here from the beginning. I mean, Ben was here from the beginning. I think I may have guessed it on the first show, but
yeah, I think you did.
You literally had your hands on all 400 episodes.
Yeah, you said more words on this podcast than anybody else, most likely.
That is that's the largest drawback to this podcast, I think. I think if anybody was going to write a review, that would probably be the thing that they stand out with as the thing that holds it back. But gents, I am delighted to share episode number 400 with you, and even more than that, with all of you tuned in. A huge thanks to everybody who has supported us and listened to the first, coming up on 9 years now, 8 full years, I guess. 8 years, 9 seasons, 9 years, 8 seasons. I don't know how math works. We're flying into the 2023 baseball season and cresting over 400 episodes with a delightful edition of the Show Before the Show that we are very excited to get to you today. And we kicked it off on a good note. Ordinarily, Sam has to give me permission to record right before we start getting on. I was getting set to make a crack at Sam, like I clicked the button and I didn't have permission, but I hit it and it said recording up in the little thing there, and we're firing on all cylinders. We're like a well-oiled machine here.
Yeah, it just took, we just finished up spring training in baseball. It took 399 reps for us to get into prime season form, but now we're here.
Right.
That's right. This is
starting next week. I'm just instantly give you permission to record every time.
And when you forget, it'll just be like, it's one of those slumps. Like, does Sam have what it takes to stick at this level? Early on, did we challenge him too much with this season's assignment out of the gate? Are we going to bump him down? See how we tie it all into minor league baseball? We're
right. Our stats count starting today.
Exactly. Well, guys, we got so much to get into. And again, huge thanks all of you for tuning into this week and every week's episode of the Show Before the Show. You can get in touch with us, podcast@milb.com. You can tweet at us at, Benjamin Hill is at Ben's Biz. Samuel C. Dykstra is at Sam Dykstra MILB. And I am at Tyler Mond. Sam just got delighted that I used his accurate middle initial.
Seriously, I don't know if you've ever actually done this on the show. Like, you may have corrected yourself afterwards.
I don't think I've ever done it when you are on. But if you noticed, when we have episodes when you're not on, I always do it.
Yeah, and ain't that always the way?
Well, let's kick it off and let's dive in to a very fun new alternate identity announced for this year in 2023 from one of the most innovative teams in all of minor league baseball, the Eugene Emeralds, who have announced a new identity for 2023, which is the Exploding Whales, and is something that we are going to need to discuss in a lot of detail. There's already Exploding Whales merchandise out there, which I need to get my hands on. I know that they are very soon going to be unveiling a hat, and by very soon, I mean literally an hour and 11 minutes from right now, from as we're recording this, they'll be unveiling a hat. Ben, we need to dive into the little granular elements of this, because there were a lot of them that were spread across a Pacific Northwest beach one gray afternoon in the 1970s.
Yeah, in 1970 in Florence, Oregon. I've always loved this story. I covered it in my newsletter this week, so please subscribe to the Ben's Biz Beat. I was in college, and a good friend of mine, Jay Miller, I used to love going to his house, hanging out with friends. And, I had the internet when I was in college. I'm not that old, but we also had VHS tapes, and the internet was not a repository at that time. There was no YouTube. You couldn't just find all these weird random clips. And my friend Jay had this VHS cassette with like these weird, news bloopers, weird news stories, weird talk show appearances. And, we love to watch that kind of stuff. And on that VHS cassette was a 1970 news story about this exploding whale in Florence, Oregon. And it's an amazing story. Now just go to YouTube if you've never seen this. The original news broadcast has been remastered. It already has like 17 million views or something like that. But a dead whale, a sperm whale, washed up on the beach. And this was under the jurisdiction of, like the highway department, I guess, because a beach is kind of a highway in some interpretation. And it became, what do we do with this huge dead sperm whale that washed up on the beach? And they came up with the idea of blowing it up, literally packing it with dynamite and blowing it up. And the thought was that it would just, there would just be small chunks and the birds would come and eat it, and just, back to the earth it goes. And it's a good food source for the birds. And, the carcass isn't then away from the beach. And
so that's the idea. When you think of the idea, it's not the worst idea in the world. Like when you explain it that way, Ben, it's like, yeah, this makes some sense. So I can sort of see how they were arrived at that. It did not go according to plan.
Right. I mean, you can see the thought, but you can also think like, if we're going to do this, we should have some idea, hey, I mean, everything has to be tried for the first time. So they weren't really operating on precedence. And it seemed like their understanding of how much dynamite that was needed to blow up a whale was off. Because, some, townspeople gathered, they knew that the whale was going to blow up. There's some news people there. It's not a huge event, but there's people who came out to see it. And this part of the video is just amazing. It's why you need to watch this. When the whale blows up, it's just a massive, massive detonation. Like you just dropped this powerful bomb. I mean, it is just utter devastation. And you hear all these people
put like 1/80th the amount of dynamite.
Yes. I mean, you hear all these people screaming and running away. And on the footage, you can hear these chunks of whale blubber just like raining down all over the place. It like totaled a car in the parking lot. It was found, chunks of the whale were found up to a quarter mile away. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And so it was always something, that I loved going back to my college days, this story. And obviously a lot of other people loved it. And I do think the internet just made it more and more of a common knowledge thing. And we've actually talked about this exploding whale not too long ago on the podcast when we interviewed Alan Miller, the new owner of the Lake County Captains. He also owns the Portland Pickles, who last year they did not have an alternate identity related to exploding whales, but they literally reenacted it on the field after a game in a really creative way, where they built a whale out of, I don't know what, paper mache, and did their own version of an explosion. And so I think they deserve credit, the Portland Pickles, for Eugene now, taking this exploding whale baton and running with it, because what Eugene has done, although I did read that Eugene said they've had this identity like in the back pocket for a few years, or at least had thought about it. So maybe them and the Pickles had nothing to do with it, but just the people in the state of Oregon love to celebrate the exploding whale. But regardless, a whale was blown up in Portland last year. This year, on 4 dates, the Eugene Emeralds are playing as the exploding whales at the ballpark at PK Park in Eugene. So they have a whole exploding whales alternate identity. Tyler, as you mentioned, I don't actually wish we were recording this podcast earlier, because it's almost 6 o'clock here in the East. But in just about 1 hour, they're going to announce some specialty hats. And I was bantering about that on Slack earlier today. What would make an exploding whale hat special? By the time this podcast is out, we will know. But I was thinking like an exploding hat. Does it shoot little like miniature chunks of whale everywhere?
Well, what's kind of interesting to me is in their original promotional material about it, and in the story, the media wall graphic that is up on the Emerald site, they have what I would assume is the jersey and the hat But there's also this special announcement today about the hats. My thought process was that they're going to give away like those yellow bucket hats, that like you see little kids wearing in like old timey French movies in a rainstorm, to protect you from all of the, the falling blubber,
debris,
a blubber protection hat.
So, I mean, that's as good a theory as any. We will find out soon. And, I'm looking forward to, seeing what other elements the Eugene Emeralds implement with this promotion. They have mentioned, they're partnering with the town of Florence for one. So it is a partnership with them and trying to promote tourism in Florence, which is about 50, 60 miles from Eugene, straight to the west, obviously along the water, because this all happened on a beach with a whale. So you don't have to drive too far from Eugene to get to Florence. There are educational components in the promotion. I mean, not so much in the press release, but, involving, climate change and whale migration patterns. Sometimes, this story is hilarious, but, they're trying to add some educational components. And I do think especially whale education is a good thing in general. And I do understand how people who might not have seen this news clip or, just honor whales as the beautiful, majestic creatures they are could see this is kind of tasteless, an exploding whale, chunks of whale blubber. I get that, but I just feel like anyone who sees this news clip will be converted. And part of it is the way that it was covered on the local news originally. It is so well written. There's lots of dry humor, lots of like very, very subtle, sarcastic delivery. I mean, it's a masterpiece. And I wish I remembered his name, but at the first Exploding Whales night, which I believe is in May 6th, something right around there, that broadcaster, 50 some years later, will throw out the first pitch. I will have his name. It's like Paul Lindman, something like that.
That is incredible.
Have we actually said what the logo is that's like on the hat?
No, I don't think we have, actually.
There's just, Sam, there's too much to talk about.
Paul Lindman is his name, by the way.
Paul
very
Lindman,
good,
thank you.
very good memory.
This is where it gets a little weird for me. And like, I'm on board with everything.
Here we go. Wet blanket Dykstra.
No, this is not a wet blanket. It's not a dry blanket either for, mammals that live under the sea. It's a whale that is very happy to be holding a stick of dynamite.
Yeah.
It is very much an alive whale too, unless it died with a smile on its face.
But true.
Yeah, I mean, this is just an example. The commonality of seeing a barbecue joint, and there's like a pig holding a knife and wearing an apron, just can't wait to cut himself up and be eviscerated and eaten.
That is true.
Kind of a version of that, I suppose.
Yeah. No, I'm not against it in any way, and I have no idea how you would do the exploding whales in a tasteful way to begin with. So having like a happy whale that is in on it, I think is a good place to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably better than showing just an explosion of just this,
just viscera flying through the air.
Yeah.
My hope is that this starts a run of minor league baseball teams creating alternate identities based on like really early viral videos that you remember watching in like the E-Bombs World days. Like, I want to see like the Gwinnett lady who fell out of the tub while stomping grapes at the grape festival, or like the some team in South Carolina being like the "it's still real to me, damn it" guy from the wrestling video. Like, that's what we need now. The millennials are in charge. We have to take control of the early 2000s viral video craze. The Pokemon kid, that guy's got to be out somewhere.
Yeah, Mississippi Braves doing Leprechaun Night.
Yeah, like, this is such a smart. We can thread this through.
Sam didn't get that reference. There's a classic clip of
young
people in Mississippi being convinced that there's a leprechaun.
Oh, yes. No, trust me. When Tyler said E-Bombs World, I'm sure 95% of our audience didn't get it. I got it, and I immediately
thank you, Sam. That is true.
Fries are done.
Our young demographic was like, E-Bombs World. What is that? It's like if you could think of YouTube that took 10 times longer to load and had one billionth of the content on it. That was pretty much E-Bombs World. But that's what I think we need to do. I think we need Gwinnett. Our phone is open. I'm sure you can find that reporter. Hopefully her leg is not too affected by the time she fell out of the big oak barrel stomping grapes. That's what I think the next step needs to be. So you're welcome for all the ideas, as always. Ben, let's continue. The 2023 minor league season at hand. And of course, we are getting set to do some projections, some prognosticating, some predictions for this year on the baseball side. What about on your side, on the business of baseball, hearing from minor league front offices, all of that? Let's hear some Ben's Biz predictions for 2023.
Yeah, this isn't so much from hearing from minor league front offices. Before we went on the air, I was saying predictions are a little tougher for me and what I cover because it's harder to predict. You can look at a prospect and be like, I believe this will be his breakout season or what have you. But when you're covering, promotions and food, it's a little tougher just to say like, the Mississippi Braves macaroni and cheese pizza will sell more slices than they had thought. It can be a little tougher. So I went a little bolder and tried to just come up with a few predictions. Number one, everyone delights, speaking of animals, because we were talking about the whales. Everyone loves animals on the field or is just kind of compelled when a game is delayed because of animals on the field, or even like when there was a bear in Asheville. It wasn't during a game, but it was kind of fascinating to see a bear wandering around a field. We've seen snakes. We saw Brett Phillips wrangling the possum. There was even a crocodile or alligator that it was a Brett Honeywell encountered in Port Charlotte number of years ago. We've seen a lot, and my prediction is this. This will be the season that a Fisher Cat is spotted at Delta Dental Stadium, home of the New Hampshire Fisher Cats. They're nocturnal creatures. They're terrifying. Again, YouTube, look up a video that has audio of a Fisher Cat wailing in the night. It is terrifying. So this might not be during a game.
Just that
but
description
I do believe
sounds terrifying.
It is terrifying. It is awful. But I do believe this might be the year that a Fisher Cat makes its appearance. Maybe they get it on the surveillance video. And we can finally say, okay, we did this. Now we'll change our name to the Primaries.
Finally, after all these years, we can break out the donkey and the elephant.
As has been foretold
mark.
For many years now.
Fulfilling the prophecy, finally, as minor league baseball's word becomes life. Well, we are pumped to see what lies ahead in 2023. We got a lot more ballpark guides, I know, getting set to finish off that. The wide scope of minor league ballparks. If you're set in 2023 to hit the road and check out a minor league baseball game somewhere, you can find a ballpark guide at milb.com. And Ben, what did I miss? I know that I missed something.
Well, I got
400. We could have gone for hours today.
It's okay. I got two more predictions, and all the other stuff we can get to next week, though. But two more predictions real quick. There aren't as many celebrities coming to games as I think there used to be, minor league level celebrities. But this year, as in many of the years past, the three most dominant names are all cast members of The Office. Brian Baumgartner, who played Kevin, Leslie David Baker, who played Stanley, and Kate Flannery, who was Meredith. And I'm going to predict that this is the last year we see widespread sitcom nights, as they're now said for, trademark purposes. I think people will always love The Office. The Office is a fine show. But I think after this many years of Office promos and the fact that it's been off the air for a certain amount of time, and that, hey, Gen Z and whatever comes after that is on the rise, and they might not have grown up with it as much, and you're always trying to appeal to the young fans. I think Office promos, and with no disrespect at all to Leslie David Baker, Brian Baumgartner, and Kate Flannery, I think they're on the way out. And I think this will be the last year in which we see each of those three people making, 6, 8, 10, 12 ballpark appearances a year. Very bold, very, very bold. Most people are not willing to go this far out. And then the last thing, beer bats became a thing in a lot of stadiums. Beer helmets are next. And I think this is going to be, this is not going to be something teams sell, but the same way that, beer snakes, the cups that people make, it becomes just a thing. I think people, a lot more teams now sell like chicken fingers and fries in a full-size helmet, nachos in a full-size helmet. I think people will begin to repurpose the helmets they get food in, maybe bring their own helmet and pour beer into the helmet. Then, it'll go viral. Someone doing this and drinking beer in the stands will go viral, and then it'll catch on. And this will be the year of the beer helmet. So those are my three predictions.
It's essentially a baseball version of a shoey.
I like that.
Right?
Yeah, I guess. That's
you just call it a beer helmet. I was trying to think of like a pithy name to have, like a helmet or something, but
a helmet.
A helmet.
After spending a lot of time with an Australian recently, I'm too familiar with the shoey concept. I've not done it. I lived there for a little while. I got away without doing it. There were obviously fans behind home plate at the U.S.-Mexico game, I believe, in the World Baseball Classic, who were doing shoeys, and nobody could figure out why. Yeah, I don't. What I would like from the batting helmet concept is like put the helmet on, strap some cup holders to the side, put straws in, and make that the beer helmet.
Yeah. And there
That
used
I'd
to
be
be,
into.
you're right. There used to be beer helmets of that nature with cans that strapped to the sides of the head, and people would wear them, and then there'd be straws coming in from the can strapped to the head. So there's different ways to go about the beer helmet. But yeah, I'm
Many
predicting
different ways.
a more
to
organic approach. And you talk about the shoey in Australia. That just made me think. I'm very familiar these days with Bluey from Australia.
Oh,
It's
the
like
greatest.
number one kids show. It's on.
Tell me you have a child under the age of 5.
Yeah, Harry Hill is 2 years
Or
old.
you're just a engaged guy wwho's 37 with no kids.
Are you watching Bluey by yourself?
I've watched Bluey.
It's
It's the most adorable show in the history of television.
I believe it.
How can I get
haven't
away
watched
with it?
Everybody I know who's seen it loves it, and I'm not
Yeah.
trying to yuck any yums here.
right.
You know.
Well,
I-
I'm now at that stage in my life, and it used to be like I'd see these minor league promos like Coco Lemon or something like that, or Daniel Tiger, but I saw like Wisconsin Timber Rattlers. They have Bluey, and it was the first time I related. I was like, whoa,
It's fantastic.
that's some big news. And yeah, it got me excited. I'd be excited to meet Bluey at the ballpark. I mean, with my kid, I wouldn't just go on my own and stand in line for Bluey just by myself. But
Maybe that's my
Tyler.
prediction for
I
2022.
would.
Is that we'll get Ben to meet Bluey.
yeah,
Okay. I like that
Real
idea.
life?
Kelsey
Yeah.
Hannigan has hopped in, a Bluey fan as well. Josh Jackson, who is going to join us shortly, likewise a Bluey fan. I feel lucky because I have one. She's not big, but she is a larger blue healer. And then we have a red healer who's tiny. So we have like a Bluey and a bingo in our house. And it makes me happy every time I call them that sometimes. And it's delightful. I love it.
well, there you go. Shoot from shoeys to Blueys.
Many ways to skin this cat or explode this whale.
Yeah, and we started with Kabluey.
That was good.
400 reps
That
gets
was
you
very
that
good.
joke.
That was very good. Episode 400 off to a roaring start. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, Kelsey's here. No one needs me anymore. I'm out.
Kicking you out. Get out. Second
Later.
segment's coming up. Love you, Ben.
Love you too.
Hey everybody, it's Sam just jumping in here real quick to update you on something that broke just after we finished recording on Wednesday. So it was Wednesday night just before Major League Opening Day on Thursday. And that news is that the Major League Baseball Players Association and Major League Baseball came together on a CBA, a collective bargaining agreement for minor leaguers, according to multiple reports Wednesday night. That is historic. The Major League Baseball Players Association taking on minor leaguers was a massive step this year, and MLB acknowledging that side of the union was a big thing back in the fall. They were working on a CBA throughout the offseason, according to multiple reports, including those by Evan Drellick, Jeff Passan, a lot of the names you know, that deal has been agreed to by both sides. Now, the I's have to be dotted, the T's have to be crossed. The rank and file players have to agree to the deal. Right now, it's just player leadership that has done that. And on the other side, MLB has agreed to the deal, but the owners have to ratify the CBA. So there's still some details to knock out here real quick. But we just wanted to acknowledge the historic moment of this because what it means is pretty big for players. Pay is going to increase in the minor leagues this year, according to those reports. AAA players are going to go to a salary above $35,000. Complex League is going to be at $19,800. Wages for the other levels will be somewhere in that spectrum at low A, high A, and double A will be between those two figures. Both sides have codified housing for minor leaguers, which is a huge step. It also comes with the domestic reserve list, which is essentially the roster that a team is allowed to carry on the domestic side outside of the Dominican, outside of Latin America, has been slimmed down from 180 to 165. That's going to go into place next year for 2024. This is a 5-year agreement as it stands right now. Like I said, there are going to be more details that are going to come out and when everything is officially signed and ready to go. But this is something we wanted to bring to you guys. Note the historic nature of the deal, especially as it pertains to the 2023 season that is going to arrive here with AAA play on Friday. So that's the update on the CBA between Major League Baseball and the minor league side of the Major League Baseball Players Association. Exciting stuff on that side. We'll bring more details to you as everything becomes official in the days and weeks ahead. So that's that. Now let's get to our predictions with myself, Tyler, Kelsie Hennigan, and Josh Jackson.
It's football season, and you can now get almost anything you need for game day delivered with Uber Eats. What do we mean by almost? Well, you can't get a running back delivered, but you can get baby back ribs delivered. A strong defense? No. A strong deodorant? Yes. A six-pack of abs? Nope. Six-pack of beer? Yes. Get almost anything for game day delivered with Uber Eats, official on-demand food delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Alcohol 21 plus and in select cities. Product availability varies by region. See app for details.
We're rolling along on this week's 400th episode of the Show Before the Show podcast. That's all time, not this week. I said this week's 400th episode. That'll be a lot of work to do, especially because it's only Wednesday, but we're going to keep going, and we've got a whole pile of fun planned for you today as we are joined, as you heard, Kelsie Hennigan in the house, Josh Jackson now in the house as well on the correct Wi-Fi network in his actual house, and Sam and I roping these two in as we do every year to join us for our season preview conversation. It's good to see you both.
Yeah, I know, it's been a while. I don't think I've been on the podcast this calendar year, so I'm excited.
2023, a year for all kinds of wild baseball stories already. And Josh, who every week you get to hear on this show as the creator of Ghosts of the Minors. What is your favorite Ghosts team so far this year, Josh? Do you remember any of them?
I'm prepping for opening day right now, and I don't remember a single baseball team in the minor leagues or the major leagues
That's fair.
in history or active today.
Okay, well, that's good. Seems like a good way to get ready for opening day.
I will say the windowsill fern planters, because I'm looking at a fern on my windowsill.
I would watch that team ball out. And with Josh's complete inability to recollect anything baseball related, we're going to give you now our predictions for this 2023 Major League Baseball season and minor league baseball season. And we are going to go in this round. We are going to go in a snake format with Josh kicking things off, then Kelsie, then Sam, then me, and then we'll do it the reverse going the other way. And we're talking about these categories. First up, which system will we be talking about most in 2023? Which prospect will enter the upper stratosphere of prospectum, which I'm very glad I was able to get that word out without butchering it. Who will be the top prospect in baseball by the end of the 2023 season? That can include 2023 draft picks if you want to go that route. A surprise major league debut from a top 100 prospect, rookies of the year in the American League and the National League, and we'll give you a big league prediction team-wise as well by selecting our World Series winner. And let's dive in. Josh, which system will we be talking about most here in 2023? Go.
So I'm glad I'm going first on this one, because I feel it's one of these questions for me where I feel like there's just a right answer. For me, maybe you guys will say differently, but I feel like the Orioles system, the position it's in right now with Gunnar, Henderson, in the big leagues, Grayson Rodriguez, not probably too far behind, we wouldn't think. And a whole slew of top 100 prospects, Jackson Holiday, just getting in, his first full season this year, Colton Cowser, big breakout last year, on and on and on, Heston Kjerstad, and the combination of all that top 100 talent, and it being like sort of a situation right now where I'm not saying the Baltimore Orioles are going to win the 2023 World Series, but we might start seeing them do some interesting things at the big league level, in part because of some of those names and recent graduations from previous years, which I know shouldn't necessarily count toward which is the best farm system right now, but we're saying, who are we talking about the most? I think part of that conversation is the recent fruits, the recently plucked fruit from the tree of the Baltimore player development system.
I like that one. Kelsie, fire away.
Yeah, the Orioles are obviously the best farm system. But in terms of what we're going to talk about most, I decided to mix it up a little bit. I'm going with the Cardinals. Obviously, Jordan Walker has been one of the biggest prospects this spring that everyone's talking about, both on and off the field. So he's going to be pretty exciting in the majors. Fellow top 100 prospect Alec Burleson also be with the Cardinals in the majors. But then the minors, there's still a lot of excitement. Mason Wynn's arm is going to provide a highlight almost every day, probably, especially as he's in AAA. So we'll have the StatCast on that arm. Tink Hence is a fantastic pitcher along with Gordon Graceffo. They can rack up the strikeouts. Matthew Liberatore hasn't quite had things work in the majors, and he didn't have a great spring, but I think he's still going to be someone we're talking about of like, can he click? Can he make it work together? And then, of course, Moises Gomez. He led the minors in home runs last year. He will be returning to Memphis, at least to start the year. And, will he lead the minors in home runs again? Probably not, just out of odds, but I think he's still going to be someone we're talking about. So in terms of just exciting names, in terms of highlights, and just even questions, we talk about great guys, but we also talk about question marks. So I think that like Matthew Liberatore kind of adds to that of like, if someone's just getting 2 hits every day, I don't know how much we're going to talk about him if he's going 2 for 4. But if someone is going up and down, we're going to talk about him. So I kind of thought about it that way. So I'm going with the Cardinals.
And yeah, kind of to pick up what you were saying there, Kelsie, I was going to go a little bit of a curveball. It's not really too much of a curveball, because I figured somebody was going to take the Orioles, and I'm glad Josh did, because that's our number 1 system in the MLB pipeline farm system rankings. I'm going to go with the number 2 team with the Dodgers. And the reason I'm doing that is that I think we might talk about the Dodgers even more than the Orioles this year. If you look at the Dodgers and their offseason, relatively quiet, right? I mean, Cody Bellinger walked, Trey Turner's gone. They left a lot of holes in their lineup and in their roster. And that's a reason why a lot of people think the Padres are the best team in the NL West now. But I think they did that knowing this next generation is coming. And we already know Miguel Vargas is going to be in the major leagues to start out the year. Ryan Pepiot's going to be starting out there again after he got major league experience last year. But Gavin Stone had it almost as good a spring as anybody in that team. I mean, he was knocking on the door already. He was going to be a must follow during the early parts of the year at AAA Oklahoma City. Michael Busch is knocking on the door. We need to figure out what he is defensively, but he would probably find a spot for the Dodgers at some point, even if that's just DH. And another reason to take the Dodgers is the reason they're the number 2 farm system in baseball, despite never really having a high draft pick, is because they're as good a developer as we have in baseball right now. They take guys and turn them into top 100 prospects. It's not drafting somebody like Jackson Holiday and watching them just become like a really good player that you knew they were from the outset. I mean, doing some work this offseason on the top 100, we got some feedback that Dalton Rushing, who was their 2nd round pick last year and then showed out in pro ball very quickly, like he was the 40th overall pick, and people were already saying he might be a top 100 prospect now. What happens when he starts to get ample pro experience? He could be busting down that door. Nick Frasso, a right-handed pitcher they got from the Blue Jays last year, they seem to really develop him well, make the most out of his stuff. I mean, they do a really good job of taking prospects, understanding who they are, and taking them to that next level. So even as guys graduate this year, I expect once Bobby Miller's healthy, he's going to graduate. Vargas is going to graduate. Stone, Pepio, all these guys are going to come off the list, but the Dodgers are going to pop up more people. And then all of a sudden, if we have both these contributors at the major league level and more pop-up prospects, we're never going to stop talking about them. And I don't know if they're going to edge out the Orioles necessarily, but they'll be right there. And it should be very exciting to see how that kind of comes along, because like I said at the beginning, like the Dodgers know what they have here. And that's maybe part of the reason why you let some of these big prospects walk, or these bigger names walk in free agency. Tyler, who do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to stick. We've gone with our number 1 and number 2 ranked farm systems. I'm going to go with number 3 in the Arizona Diamondbacks. As the farm system rankings came out, the lead line points out that the D-backs have never had a top 3 system in MLB Pipeline's farm system rankings. And a lot of that is due to the fact that they've got guys who are in the top 15, 3 of them to be exact. Corbin Carroll, of course, who's number 2 overall, Jordan Lawler, who's number 11, and Drew Jones, who's number 15. But Brandon Pfaadt is a top 100 guy as well, right-handed pitching prospect in that D-back system. They've been building on a lot of this young talent and guys who are getting close to the major leagues now. You look at Corbin Carroll with some big league time. Lawler's at AA. Pfaadt was at AAA last year. Davison De Los Santos is at AA. Ryan Nelson, some big league time. Dre Jameson, some big league time. A couple of 25-year-old pitchers in that system. Blake Walston's coming up. But there are guys even further down the list that I look at who are really impressive. You know, one of the great names in all of professional baseball, Blaze Alexander, number 11 prospect in that system, is a really versatile defender, AAA time. AJ Vukovic, a corner infielder / outfielder. Yu-Min Lin, who's an international pitching prospect who's still just 19, who I think is really, really promising out of Taiwan. And a guy who I got a chance to watch in the World Baseball Classic who was really impressive is Dominic Fletcher. And Dominic Fletcher is the number 17 prospect in that system. He was a 3-year starter at Arkansas. He was on a College World Series finalist team, but just very solid across the board, really talented. The D-backs are in an interesting place as an organization right now. There hasn't been a ton of success at the major league level in recent years. They got a weird ballpark situation right now, but the front office has been sort of nose to the grindstone building something over the last several seasons. And, you know, do I think they're going to outpace the Padres and the Dodgers in the division? No, but I do think that the years of the D-backs being a down team that you look at in one of the bottom 2 spots in that division are probably gone for a little while, starting with this year. So I think they've got the potential to really surprise some people, you know, not to mention the fact they've got a top 12 pick. They'll pick 12th overall this year in the draft, and they just have a lot of talent. There may not be the highest of high-end talent outside of those top 2 or 3 guys, but the talent that they have is really considerable throughout the top 30. So I like that D-back system. Which pivots us into category number 2. And that is, which prospect will enter the upper stratosphere of prospectum so far in 2023? I'm going to the back end of the top 100, and I'm going to grab a young New York Mets prospect, and that is the outfielder Alex Ramirez, who is still just 20 years old. Last year got a chance to play at a couple of different spots in St. Lucie and then climbing to Brooklyn, and put up an OPS of 782 between those 2 levels. And I know is just a guy who it feels like has all of the developmental potential of a prospect that you could possibly want. And we've seen guys in this Met system in recent years really make that climb where not necessarily out of nowhere, but guys who you're not extremely familiar with, who then all of a sudden become household prospect names. I really, really like what the Mets have been able to do in getting these rounded or getting these very athletic prospects to be rounded, mature players at young ages, which is not an easy thing to do when you're getting guys in their first couple of years in pro ball. But I remember just really liking Alex Ramirez last year, watching him a little bit with St. Lucie and Brooklyn, and he's going to be my guy. Sam?
Yeah, and kind of picking up from what you were saying too, for anybody who wants to see what Alex Ramirez looks like, Jeff Pontus of Baseball America tweeted out a video of him. I think it was a home run that he hit, but he looks bigger in camp this year. I mean, that covering the Mets system, I do the Mets for Pipeline. It was always wiry strength. It was always a guy who like might be growing into something. It looks like he has, like he's kind of turned that corner this spring. How is that going to result in exit velocities and stuff over a larger sample? We'll have to see. But I am sticking in the outfield myself in the back half of the top 100. And I am going to Emmanuel Rodriguez of the Minnesota Twins system. Emmanuel Rodriguez was one of the tougher guys we had to rank this offseason because he's coming off a torn meniscus. It ended his season last year. He was at single A Fort Myers. He only played 47 games there, but the numbers he had were insane. He had an OBP of 492. He had a slugging percentage of 551. He had 57 walks against only 52 strikeouts. So he was very selective and he was hitting the ball hard at the same time. The question for us was what he's going to look like coming off a torn meniscus. That's a big deal for a guy who we believe has above average speed, as somebody who's going to be a runner. What is that knee going to do to him? I saw him a little bit in Fort Myers, looked healthy, got in some major league games, continued to hit the ball hard. So much of what baseball hitting philosophy now is swing at strikes and swing hard. he fits that perfectly to a T. We just need to see that sample expand. And we're going to do that this year. He's definitely going to high A. They're not going to send him back to single A. They were debating sending him to high A before the injury. I mean, he was already knocking on that door. He's still only 20 years old, turned 20 in February. So he's going to be 20 for the entire season. If he can do what he did at high A or what he did at low A at high A, he's going to be surging into the top 50. And then if he's facing double A pitching at 20 years old in the second half, then we're talking about a potential top 25 overall prospect. So he just needs to get playing time. And if he does that, I think Emmanuel Rodriguez is just about to skyrocket. Kelsie, who do you have?
So I have someone who really turned a lot of heads during the World Baseball Classic, and that's Harry Ford, the Mariners' top prospect. He was their #1 draft pick a couple years ago. He's a catcher, but he has speed. He also has a solid arm. Those are his two best tools. But he's provided some pop. He had 2 homers in 4 WBC games. He can go the other way. He's very solid at the plate. Last year, he with Modesto, he got off to kind of a slow start, but in the second half, he really turned it on, hitting with a 942 OPS in the second half. And then again, he carried that into the WBC. He, was able to do that on a large stage. Of course, he only played the 4 games, but there was a lot of fan attraction around him. I mean, like elementary school kids, obviously in the UK, were a big fan. But just in general, I think he created a lot of buzz. He's our number 49 overall prospect now, according to Pipeline. He was 65, so he's climbing. He's building that momentum. In the majors, Cal Raleigh and Tom Murphy are, holding it up there for the Mariners backstop. So they're not going to rush him, I don't think. He's starting the year in Everett, high A. He'll probably make it to Arkansas, maybe even Tacoma by the end of the year. But I think that he just is a pretty exciting guy to follow. And I think that he's proven that he can keep becoming more and more of a top prospect. How about you, Josh?
Josh, Casey Golden?
Yes. And also Tigers right-hander Wilmer Flores, who I think you just look at his climb so far and you think there's no reason to think that he's done sort of shooting up these not only rankings but just sort of his profile and who he is. He was undrafted in 2020. Last year he struck out 130 and 103 and a third innings between high A and double A. That's not too shabby for a guy who was undrafted in 2020. I think a big part of that was apparently that his fastball command, he made huge improvements on since that 2020 season. It's just continually gotten better. He throws hard, and he balances that with a sharp cutter. He's the brother of Wilmer Flores, so if you have a name that's the same as your brother, and your brother is a big leaguer, and you're shooting up the prospect ranks, I think that helps you become more well known. I think people are going to feel like, yo, you know about Wilmer Flores? No, Wilmer Flores. So that she should get a little bump there in terms of just people learning his name, knowing who he is. But it's really the stuff that's going to do most of the heavy lifting, I would think.
Oh man, I do like that though, as an additional, like, we don't have name grades, but we used to do Minors Moniker Madness. We could do like a 20 to 80 name grade sort of situation. Sam, write that down. Put that on my good ideas list.
Yeah, that'll be one of our ideas for 2024. Some of these guys have like 80s across the board, but like, you're just got
but the name, like, John Smith. Come on. All right, Josh, continuing along with you. Who's going to be the top prospect in baseball by the end of the season? I'm very intrigued as to who everybody's going to pick in this category. Let's kick it off, Josh Jackson. Who you got?
I continued sort of the same line of thinking there, at looking at a trajectory and thinking like, well, what's going to stop this trajectory
based on name?
And does this guy have a brother who has the same name and has accomplished something?
Good news for Victor Mesa.
Wander Franco.
Good news for Wander Franco.
Well, you guys may or may not know that Jackson Churio has a brother who's an accomplished fine artist named Jackson Churio. may or may not be true.
I thought you were going to say his
But-
name was Jackson Joshua. And then
I
you
mean,
were
he
gonna-
does have a brother, Jason Churio, who's in the Cleveland system.
See, I mean, so he's 19 right now, right? He just turned 19, like, a couple weeks ago. And the year he had last year at 18, I think he was he was the youngest at everywhere he went. Sam, you can correct me because I'm just gonna throw out generalities like that and pretend that I know what I'm talking about. But he was he was 18, obviously, for all of last year, and had an
prior to
incredible
turning
season.
19. He was 19.
Right before he was 19, he was 18, which is a rare accomplishment. I mean, the season he had last year was just phenomenal for a kid his age. He's going to be, I mean, I don't see him losing his prospect status this year, largely because of how young he is, and the Brewers aren't in a situation where they're like, we got to put him in the big leagues right now. So I see that trajectory for him continuing to shoot right up too. Not that it could go much higher. I think he's number 8 on Pipeline's list, top 100 list right now. So I see him continuing to climb.
Josh, I'll
Yeah.
say this before Kelsie gives her pick. To your point about he was young for everywhere he played. He did not face a pitcher last year who was younger than ever. Not at single A, high A, double A, anywhere. Every pitcher he faced was older than
he added muscle apparently over the offseason. Apparently he came into camp much muscled up.
I mean, that just happened, as teenagers age. That's
He was
just
18
natural.
and now he's 19.
Yeah, he's 18, now he's 19. Yeah. All right, Kelsie, what do you got?
I mean, yeah, I picked Jackson Churio. I feel like this category will be our least interesting because it's just such an obvious choice. I mean, we have obviously, I think 4 of the 5 top 5 prospects are starting the year in the majors. Francisco Alvarez already has a little experience. He's going to graduate this year, you got to imagine. Grayson Rodriguez, as we mentioned earlier, is knocking on the door. I mean, I think Andrew Painter's the only question mark of who could still be a prospect. I mean, he's starting the year on the injured list. But even if does still have some prospect status at the end of the year, I could see Jackson Churio jumping over him. I feel like in the past year alone, just the amount people have talked about him, it's just growing more and more. And he almost still feels underrated, even though he's the number 8 prospect, but yet, he is this good. And I think he will only get more recognition. Josh touched on it a little bit, but he has a 70 grade run tool plus power. He reached AA, like Josh said, as an 18-year-old before turning 19 a couple weeks ago. He's going to return to AA, but I think that, as you said, he probably won't graduate. So I think it's a pretty strong chance that he's the number 1 prospect.
All right. I mean, Churio was going to be my pick. I will go a little differently, but here's what I will say about Churio, and one reason why. You both said it. I mean, we don't expect him to graduate this year. Part of which is that he is so young. I mean, we're talking about Jordan Walker getting to the major leagues at 20 years old, and that being super young. Churio would be even younger than that. But when you look at the Brewers' outfield situation right now, I mean, they just got to a point where they considered bringing up Joey Wiemer for opening day and decided against it. So now Joey Wiemer is back at AAA with Sal Frelick, who's a better prospect. Those two guys are outfielders. You got Garrett Mitchell, who still has prospect status. He's their opening day center fielder. Christian Yelich is still around. They brought in Brian Anderson. I think there's going to be a point where Jackson Churio is somebody you make room for, but I don't know if 2023 is going to be that year. And if it does happen, it's going to be kind of like in a situation with Gunnar Henderson or Corbin Carroll, where it comes very late in the year and he carries prospect status into next year. The name I'm going to throw out here, and this is why I put it in parentheticals, because what this guy is doing right now is insane, is Dylan Cruz. Now, Dylan Cruz is not currently a prospect. He is a draft prospect. He's the number 1 guy in MLB Pipeline's draft rankings. If things go the way they are looking, he's probably going to the Pirates at number 1. But let me just read off his stats at LSU right now. Entering today, the guy is batting .542. He has an OBP of .667, so he's reaching base in 2/3 of his plate appearances. He's slugging .988, which would be a good OPS for anybody. His OPS is 1.655. He's got 45 hits, 9 of them are home runs. He has 27 walks against only 12 strikeouts. So everything I was talking about before with Emmanuel Rodriguez of like slimming down the strike zone and hitting the ball hard within the strike zone. That's what he's doing. He has almost as many home runs as he does strikeouts at LSU. Now, SEC play is going to kick up here. He's not playing necessarily every day like you do in the pros. We'll see how things are going. But like, there's some real momentum here and this would be, I think, unprecedented. I don't think anybody's ever like been picked.
I was going to say, have we ever had a draft pick who slots in as the number 1 by the end of their draft year?
No, because I don't even think like Steven Strasburg, who was as close as Cruz is kind of getting here in terms of college hype. Bryce Harper was also there. I know he played junior college, but I put that off to the side because he was much younger. I don't think Strasburg was even number 1 overall coming out of college. And we remember how hyped he was. I'm not saying Cruz is going to get there, but it's going to be a conversation. And it's one I'm really looking forward to if everything continues as it's going. Not that I'm saying the guy's going to slug 900 forever, but like if he keeps on this trajectory, it's insane how high he could get when he debuts. And I think that could be a really fun conversation. If we're still talking about him, if we're talking about Churio, if we're talking about Jackson Holiday, who was last year's number 1 overall pick, and it showed really good plate discipline at a young age. We might get to a point where like, yeah, Churio ends up taking it, but I think it could be a great debate come, when we do our re-rank in August.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that was most interesting to me about this category was whether or not we were going to go unanimously for Jackson Churio, and I think we're all in agreement that he's the odds-on favorite for it. Andrew Painter, I agree, is the other one who right now stands out because of where he is in his development and also his age, but the injury is going to keep him back. He's not even throwing yet, I believe. As of the latest update. Just one other news item or one other note from the college ranks and for a draft prospect, another guy to keep an eye on is Paul Skeens, who's on that same LSU team. And I know there are scouts out there who have said he might be the best college right-hander in a generation. He's not even the top-ranked college right-hander on our draft prospect list. That's Chase Dollander from Tennessee, but Paul Skeens this year, a transfer from the Air Force Academies at LSU, 6 starts, 0.72 ERA, a 5-0 record. He has struck out, and this is not incorrect because you're going to think when I say it, there's no way that that's right. In 37 1/3 innings, he has struck out 71 batters and walked 7. 71 batters struck out, 7 walked in 37 1/3 innings. And granted, yeah, it's late March. It's not the heat of conference play in the SEC and all that, but somebody else to keep an eye on. He's not going to be the top prospect in baseball by the end of the year, but if you're excited about draft news and prospects to follow going into the 2023 draft and even deeper into the college season, there's one for you. Okay, a surprise top 100 major league debut this year, which is the category that I feel like if we went back, we would probably be wrong on it with every single selection ever because it's just about impossible to pick this one. But I'm going to go with one that I think will be a big surprise because that's what we do for this category. How about Kevin Alcantara, who is a young outfield prospect in the Chicago Cubs organization? He's only 20, but the Cubs, let's be honest, who knows what the Cubs are doing right now? They're the 4th richest franchise in baseball. They are acting as though they're a poverty level team, sometimes payroll wise. Other times they're slinging big dough out there. Who knows? So if there's an aggressive pathway forward for somebody, I don't know, why not Kevin Alcantara? Last year put up some really good numbers at the Class A level. Let's say he just busts out. He climbs to Tennessee. Something happens. They need a guy, a reserve to make his big league debut. And you think, all right, well, what about this 21-year-old kid? He's going to turn 21 in July. I don't know. This category is impossible to pick. Let's go that way. Sam, who you got?
Under that scenario, I think that would mean both him and Pete Crow Armstrong would be on the major league team.
Yes, I think
which would be very exciting.
Right.
It would be very
awesome.
exciting.
And my selection for the 2022 Major League Rookie of the Year, Brendan Davis, in the National League, he presumably would be as well. That did not work out last year for me with that pick. But this category is always so tough to choose because it relies on so many factors sometimes other than just, well, this guy is playing really well.
Right. Yeah. It's got to be a team that's competitive or not competitive in kind of a way like the D-backs were last year with Corbin Carroll, where they were just like, we want to get you this shot. And you have to have a team that's going to buy into that philosophy too, right? Like not every team apparently is willing to give their prospects late season call-ups because they'd rather have that happen after a year or an off season of prep. So there's a lot of factors that go into this. Mine kind of along those lines is I'm coming from it from the point of view of, okay, who's going to be competitive going into the fall, but it's going to be close. So they could really use the help, and they might just decide, listen, we have a good guy here. Why don't we just use him in the way we could? I'm going with Tink Hence.
That was going to be my second pick. I was going to say the same thing. And Kelsey's pick as well.
Wow. I can
Wow.
go with another one
Nice.
if you want. I can go a different way because I have
No,
two
that's
names here.
good. Because and when you explain your rationale, I'm assuming that we're all going to be somewhat on the same page. But being a guy who could factor into the bullpen late in a playoff push, like there is a profile there where you think like, oh, that certainly makes a lot of sense.
Right. And the Cardinals have actually really I don't want to say babied him so far, but they've been really close watching his innings. Right. Like they even gave him time in the Arizona Fall League last year. So they were willing to extend his season, but he only pitched one inning an outing. He wasn't working as a starter. He was coming out of the bullpen, in fact. But the stuff really plays. I mean, we saw it in flashes this spring. I mean, it's a fastball that can touch 99. He's got a curveball that looks plus right now. He has a slider that sometimes has enough depth to look like a curveball, but it moves slightly different enough. It's a little bit more horizontal. So it gives him multiple breaking ball looks. He's got an above average changeup. He throws strikes for the most part. He only saw a single A last year, was 52 and a third innings. So if you're thinking like adding 30 innings, that's going to be like 80 innings this year. But again, if they're really stringent with him in the first half and you're looking at the second half and he's at like 75 innings September, and you're the Cardinals and you're trying to hold off the Brewers, or you're going after a wild card spot, and Tink Hence can really help your bullpen with a full bevy of pitches, I think it's possible. Now, the other one I'll throw out there, just so we have a little bit more diversity, is Brooks Lee of the Minnesota Twins. Why would that be surprising? He's their number 31 overall prospect. That's really good. But he was a draft pick last year. He was 8th overall for the Twins. So he's already reached AA. You have Carlos Correa talking about him this spring, which is notable because Brooks Lee plays shortstop. And he was like, hey, listen, the more I look at Brooks Lee, I'm really happy Minnesota made that pick, even if we have the same position. So Carlos Correa has identified something in Brooks Lee. He's a plus hitter, could be even plus as a switch hitter. He has a little bit of pop. The Twins told me this spring they're willing to move him over to third base. They think his arm will play there. That's going to happen more and more the closer he gets to the Twin Cities. So listen, the Twins, I think, are also going to be in a dogfight in the AL Central. I think the Guardians are the favorite, but the Twins, you don't go out and sign Carlos Correa unless you have a vision of returning to the postseason. And if they're looking at their infield and they say, hey, we could use a guy who's basically split proof, who's going to put the ball in play and show a little bit of power, Brooks Lee could be their guy and could make his debut in his first full season. So that's another one I'll throw out there.
Yeah, that's incredible that we both had Tink Hence, because I was, and Tyler too, I guess, a little bit, because I was just like, I'm just going to go crazy. But part of the reason why I chose him was because in my time hop today was that on this date in 2018, I was at Mets Cardinals opening day, and Jordan Hicks was there on the major league roster for the Cardinals, and he had only pitched 27 innings at high A. He hadn't reached AA yet, and the Cardinals gave him a chance, and that turned out pretty well. So I was thinking, okay, like Tink Hence could follow that same roadmap the Cardinals had for Jordan Hicks. Also only, like Sam said, pitching 50 innings in the Florida State League, but also getting that AFL time, a little bit of AFL time to show what he could do against upper level hitters. But yeah, I think that it would be really cool if Tink Hence did it. And I think that, like you said, if the Cardinals need some bullpen help at the end of the year, he's in great position to do
that. You guys tell me if this is not enough of a surprise. I'm picking Colson Montgomery, which I think is a surprise, because would be a surprise just because of the depth that the White Sox have at the big league level. But part of that depth is that I see them being a competitive team well into the stretch, and if they feel like Colson Montgomery, who's going to get a little bit of a late start to the year with an oblique, I think it's an oblique strain. Sam, is that right? Nod if you can. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It is an oblique injury. It sounds like he's going to start out and extend it and eventually either move to high A or AA. They're still determining that, but yeah.
Yeah, I see him as being able to sort of play his way up to the level where they can see him as a contributor, and see him as a nice addition there in the stretch run, especially, if there are any injuries at the big league level, or if he's just really playing absolute gangbusters. But he's a quality player on both sides of on both, in the box and on the bases and in the dirt. So excuse me, sorry. So I see him as having the potential to crack in. And I think it would be I also think it would be surprising if he did. Is that enough of a surprise?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's somebody who last year was playing in his first full season. Somebody we don't necessarily have circled as a 2023 debutant. And also, I mean, he's a shortstop in an organization that employs Tim Anderson, right? Like they can move those guys. I don't think they're going to move Tim Anderson around. I don't think we're going to see like a Team USA situation where Tim Anderson goes to second base in deference to Colson Montgomery. But I mean, something would have to move around. Somebody would have to change positions. I'm sure it would probably be Montgomery in that situation. But again, for the same reasons I'm talking about Brooks Lee, you're talking about Colson Montgomery. Like this is going to be a close race in the AL Central. And I think it could be between these three teams, the Guardians, the Twins, and the White Sox. And if you're the White Sox and you're looking at, the second half, and there's a guy who could help you, Colson Montgomery, who they got aggressive and promoted to Double-A last year in his first full season. They've shown a willingness to get aggressive with him. It could happen. It's still surprising. I don't want to make it sound like, oh, this is definitely within the wheelhouse. Like, I think that would be more aggressive than anybody's predicting, but like it's in that sweet spot for this category for sure.
Yeah, I do think some sort of injury, Moncada maybe, would probably, he's a big guy. I don't know how he'd play second base. It seems like he could play third.
Right. He has the arm for third, right? Like This is a similar situation again to Brooks Lee, that he's somebody who could play third base. He's athletic enough for it. He has the arm for it. Yeah. It would probably take an injury or something happening to Yoan Moncada, who also has second base experience from his time in the Red Sox minor league system. I mean, there are ways to move the puzzle pieces around to get Colson Montgomery on the south side.
All right, Josh, then you are up next. Should we do both AL and NL rookies of the year?
Well, this is what I'm going to propose on this, and we're going to have another, editorial meeting on the podcast. I'm sorry to do this,
gracious.
But I think these two are going to be as close as we've had, like in terms of there being a consensus, which is kind of crazy to say, and maybe there isn't, but maybe we'll just go around the room and everybody just say the name, and then we can discuss amongst ourselves. So Josh, go first.
Like we say it all simultaneously. Like we go 1, 2, 3, and we just yell out a morass of names.
Am I saying both names or one name at a time?
Let's just do AL first, and then we can discuss our AL pick.
Mr. Henderson is my AL pick.
All right, I have Matsutaka Yoshida.
Okay, I also have Gunnar Henderson, so I want to circle back to Kelsey's point, but Tyler?
I'm intrigued by these selections. Yeah, I'm gonna go with a pick that I think is gonna make everybody shake their heads. I'm gonna go Anthony Volpe.
I was hoping somebody would.
If you're a shortstop in New York and you do anything, sorry, this is my Denver born and raised thing coming out. He will get every single vote. He's the next coming Ajita. He's whatever. If he has a pedestrian good season, he'll win Rookie of the Year.
I don't think that's true.
We'll see.
I think the expectations will be high for him, and so that's why. And I think also there is backlash. There is the Jeter sucked at shortstop, so therefore we have to hold. We need a standard. I think that a lot of reporters now or voters these days are thinking about that, and they think like you, and they don't want an overrated Yankee shortstop to succeed.
And
I wanted to see if anybody was going to yell at me for jumping in there. When Kelsie said, Jeter sucked at shortstop, and I said he did. I wanted to see if anybody was going to rip my head off.
I said a lot of people think that, but yeah.
It's also not a vacuum. Like, it's not just he's not going to be the only high profile rookie who has a lot of exciting tools and is coming in playing for a team that's like some level of competitive.
Isn't that weird to refer to the New York Yankees as some level of competitive? Because it is true. Like, you don't look at the Yankees and think like,
I'm referring mostly to other systems. Like, there are other systems that would pass that bar.
I see what you mean.
I mean, Gunnar, he's already sort of he's showed what he's capable of, I think, at the highest level. I don't see him being like phased by a lot. I see him coming in for this season like ready to have a rookie of the year season. And if him or anybody else really performs at a level where he's just that tough to ignore, I don't think any sort of like Yankee shortstop sound and fury is going to swallow up.
If they have similar numbers, though, who do you think gets more votes? And not asking that in a leading question way, because I do think, and I actually really like the way you described Gunnar Henderson, especially I remember interviewing him last year, and I was like, oh, I don't know if that guy, he has a very slow heartbeat. We'll put it that, like, he's just so even keeled. He does not seem overwhelmed by anything. But if they have similar numbers, I do not see a world in which a Baltimore Orioles prospect gets more votes than the New York Yankees shortstop.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at this kind of democratically, right? Like, and then I want to get to Kelsie about Yoshida, because that's a fascinating pick as well.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
We're looking at this in terms of like the possibility that they're going to have similar numbers. And if that's true, then Volpe should probably get it because he is a shortstop, whereas Henderson's going to be a third baseman. And just the WAR adjustment on that is going to be enough to give Volpe the advantage. That being said, I think Henderson's going to have the better numbers for reasons Josh pointed out. Like, Henderson has major league experience already. That can't be overlooked. He's not going to show up and be like, how does this all work? Where do I need to be? He knows all that stuff. Anthony Volpe, he had a tremendous spring. He lived up to every expectation I could have had of him. He doesn't have major league experience. He doesn't even have that much AAA experience. And the AAA experience he did have with Scranton last year didn't go that great. That's why it was an open question coming into the spring of like, is this Peraza's job? Is this Volpe's job? Is this Isaiah Kiner-Falefa's job? He won it out of spring, but like, there's still going to be that level of adjustment that I don't think Henderson's going to have. So maybe he gets like a month head start here, in a way that, looking at like last year's race, it came down to Julio Rodriguez and Adley Rutschman, right, in the AL. Neither of those guys had major league experience coming into the year, and they needed some time to adjust. It took Julio Rodriguez like 6 weeks to start looking like the J-Rod we know him to be now.
Yep.
Even Adley, he was coming off an injury. He had a late start, had a great charge down the stretch, but like, he needed some time to adjust. Gunnar Henderson's gone through that already. And Anthony Volpe's going to probably go through that this year himself, but I think that's going to put him a little bit far behind.
Here's my real question. How are they going to make, I know he's changing to number 11. How are they going to make that into respect as a hashtag?
I don't know, but one thing,
there's got to be a word, double L's.
R11E.
They don't really need it to look. I mean, the two thing has never worked.
That's true. That's a good point. It's a fair point. Sorry, Sam, I cut you off.
No, I was just going to say, like, the one thing that stood out to me about the number 11 was it is the lowest number. Gary Sheffield, Brett Gardner, their number 11's out there, but it's the lowest non-zero number that the Yankees have that is not yet retired.
Yeah, they definitely have a lot of high hopes for him, just like when they gave Derek Jeter number 2, knowing that was a low number even before they had retired a bunch around there.
Yeah. But Kelsie, you had Yoshida.
So I do
coming off the WBC and looking incredible.
Coming off the WBC, in which he bagged cleanup behind Ohtani. Like, that's already a role that they're expecting a lot from you. They're expecting other pitchers to think like, oh, I don't want to face you, so I have to face Ohtani. Like, that's a tough spot, but he did it. He hit 409. He led the WBC in 13 RBIs. Obviously, he played more games than others just being for Japan, but he's coming off that championship. He had a championship in the NPB before leaving to go to the US. I don't know, just having 7 years of pro experience under his belt. I understand that, Japan and the majors are not the exact same, but we've seen in the WBC that they can be competitive. So I think just him having all of that experience being an all-star 4 years in Japan, I think will help translate. And, he's been doing pretty well in spring. And I think that maybe he won't need as much of an adjustment period as, Volpe or Gunner or some of the other guys.
I will be really interested to see how he adapts, because I remember a few years ago when we did this, I picked Shogo Akiyama, who was coming over from the Seibu Lions, and he had 2 really rough seasons in the big leagues, spent part of 2022 in AAA in the Padres organization, and then was back in Japan. Some guys, it feels like, do really figure it out, especially because they have that experience, and it sort of keeps them leveled off, I think, when trying to adapt to the major leagues. And other guys have just struggled to get situated with either the big league level of competition or the life of being a major leaguer in the US, the travel so much more extensive, all that type of stuff. Seiya Suzuki last year was really pretty good for the Cubs. So that's going to be a really interesting storyline to follow, especially with the fact that the World Baseball Classic kind of pushed him to the forefront of this conversation.
Yeah, and I think he also has those skills. And Kelsie, to your point of like what he showed in the WBC were like the things that do translate well.
Yeah.
Was bat on ball. And then a lot of people thought, well, he's going to be a doubles hitter. And then he was hitting ball over the fence. He homered the other day, at Fenway South at JetBlue Park to straightaway center. I mean, the power seems to be playing. And if he's somebody who's willing to spray the ball around, the Green Monster is going to be sitting out there for him too. He can pick up doubles by the bunches. I think a lot of people were concerned about his defense, but it's the Manny Ramirez situation. Like if he's not a good defender, stick in front of the Green Monster, and it's not as much of a concern. So the situation might be just right for Yoshida, but I'm fascinated to see how that's going to translate, because like you said, Tyler, we've seen it on both sides. We've seen it work really well, and we've seen it not work very well.
He's also got really, really good plate discipline. In Japan, 7 years, he walked 421 times and struck out 300 times, which you don't really see. So should we go National League?
Yeah, let's do
Are
the
we
same
going to
thing.
be? I feel like there's a very good chance that the National League is going to be, well, maybe not unanimous, but I feel like we're going to have a dominant. I'm going Corbin Carroll.
I'm going Corbin Carroll as well. Kelsie.
I'm mixing it up with Ellie De La Cruz.
Oh, interesting pick.
Josh, did you also have Corbin Carroll?
Yeah, that's like my most the pick I believe in the most in this conversation.
Chalkiest pick. Yeah, I was looking, and out of the last 6 NL rookies of the year, only 3 started the season in the majors, versus in the American League 5 out of 6 started the majors. Because I was trying to get a sense of like, do you have to be there the whole year? Does it help? Ellie De La Cruz obviously is starting the minor league season on the IL, but it's just a hamstring strain. Hopefully he'll be back in the middle of April and get going with Louisville soon after that. I just think that he burst on the scene really crazy last year. Like he was the number 77 overall prospect to start the year, and then he was number 10. He has plus power, he has plus speed, plus arm, and then he's just electric and fun to watch and just kind of makes things happen. I think that his biggest challenge would be Jose Barrera, who had a great spring, and then Spencer Steer, but he's also played a lot of games at second base in 2019. I know obviously Jonathan India is not going anywhere, but I think just his versatility and being able to play a few different positions in the infield makes it easier for him to get up there. And I think that once he does, he'll just be exciting. I think that everyone saw him at spring training. They couldn't get over his height first off, but then he had the bat and he had the moves on the field as well. So I think Corbin Carroll is the chalk, the easy, like most likely, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was Ellie De La Cruz.
Yeah, I mean, that's the perfect example of like opportunity and potential. Because if Ellie goes gangbusters in a way that we saw him go gangbusters last year, then yeah, that's a rookie of the year candidate. And the Reds, Lord knows right now, they are not built to compete in 2023. And similar in a way that we talk about, and I'm surprised nobody took Jordan Walker, but like Jordan Walker is somebody you make room for, which the Cardinals have now done. If Ellie De La Cruz is healthy and productive at AAA for even a short amount of time, he's somebody you make room for in Cincinnati. So I think they will. That being said, you mentioned the hamstring injury, and I hear what you're saying about like, I think we get too wrapped up on like who's going to be there on opening day. because we saw it last year with Adley Rutschman. He almost caught up to Julio Rodriguez, and that's the AL. That's not even the NL. But with Corbin Carroll, he just does a lot of. They're very different players, but I think he has the hit tool advantage over Ellie De La Cruz. I think he's better bat on ball. He's not going to strike out 30% of the time like Ellie De La Cruz did. He's going to be the opening day left fielder, center fielder. We'll see. Like that, it's going to be fascinating to see where they put him defensively, but he's going to provide tons of value that way. De La Cruz could as well, but he's somebody, even if he's not hitting, even if he's hitting 220 in the month of May, he's still going to be one of the fastest runners in baseball. He's still going to be one of the best defenders in baseball. All of that counts, right? Like in this war-filled age that we live in, there's many ways to contribute to a team and have that produced in numbers. And I think Corbin Carroll just ticks off all those boxes. Plus, Tyler, you mentioned this before when we were talking about systems. I think Arizona's a dark horse in the NL. I think there's a decent chance they're really fighting for something in the wild card race at the end of the year. And a big reason for that is going to be Corbin Carroll's development and his production now as a full-fledged major leaguer who's going to be there for a long time. Guy signed a contract extension. Obviously, the D-backs believe in him. He believes in himself to sign that. And yeah, I think this is the start of something big there in the desert.
Dark horse candidate 2023, Ezekiel Tovar, the Colorado Rockies. It's been a long time since we've seen somebody take advantage of like Coors. This dude's putting up absurd numbers. Defensively, Ezekiel Tovar is ridiculous. He's a 70 grade defender. Offensively, if that bat plays, there's a chance that he puts up numbers that kind of push him over the top. So that's a dark horse guy. Josh, go for it.
Well, if Ezekiel Tovar played for the Yankees, what
they wouldn't even need to vote. He would have number -4, and they'd be like, we're going to retire it. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Carroll, Sam pointed out, he's got the contract extension. I think the comfort level is a factor there. Again, like Gunnar, major league experience last year, and he's coming in and he knows this system has said to him, this organization has said to him, hey, we believe in you. You're a huge part of this show for us. Go out there and play some baseball. It's like not that hard to picture him having a 2020 rookie season, right? Like he'll be close, right? Right? Am I crazy?
No, I don't think you're crazy.
Yeah. No, that's reasonable.
Which, I mean, that's pretty good. That's a 2020 rookie year is
pretty good.
Not.
Yeah. I mean, he could push 30-30, honestly.
Yeah. I mean,
I've never been the biggest believer in his power. I think sometimes those Amarillo and Reno numbers got bumped up by some really hitter-friendly parks, but it's within the realm of possibility. I mean, his exit velos are good enough.
I was when I was saying like close, right? I was thinking of the home runs. Maybe not quite getting to 20, but then again, yeah, maybe he will. There are some nice places to hit a baseball in the National League West.
Coors. All right. World Series champs. That's what we arrive at in our final category of 2023 predictions. Who wants to dive in? Who wants to go first? Josh, should we kick it off with our last round?
I think Bobo Newsom's going to win 20 games for St. Louis, and Gabby Street's boys are really gonna pull this together. And Red Crest still has something in the tank. I'm picking the St. Louis Browns. I think it's their year.
It's been a long time since somebody took the Browns seriously, and I'm just glad personally that we finally have a man on board with that franchise. It's been quite some time.
Them or the Yankees?
One of the two. What about the windowsill fern planters?
Another last place finish for the fern planters, I'm afraid.
They couldn't make some noise in 2023.
All right, let's hear it.
Let's hear it. Who you got?
Oh.
You, Josh.
Yeah, are you seriously going with the Browns?
I guess
it's Cardinal.
I guess if you twist my arm, I would say the Yankees.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, it's a good ball club, and I expected them to be better in the postseason last year. I expected them to make the World Series at least last year. And yeah, I mean, this Volpe guy, I hear he's going to win Rookie of the Year no matter what he does. I mean, it's a strong ball club with obviously some things working in the lineup for them. They've got good pitching. It's the same sort of, well, they're built to win, and they have a good chance of doing just that.
Yeah, I also picked the Yankees. Whenever I look at odds of things or like how well or predictions, I like to look at whoever has the second best odds. And right now, according to FanDuel via MLB.com, the Astros are number one, and then the Dodgers, Braves are tied for second. So kind of just lumping those three together, Yankees are number four. So it slides right in there. Josh said it all, Garrett Cole, Carlos Rodon, Nestor Cortez as your 1, 2, 3 is pretty good. And obviously Judge and LeMahieu and, Volpe, all the Jeter comparisons, we can keep that going with his success to start his career in the World Series, which, by the way, I thought we could do hashtag skills with 2 1s for Volpe, or hashtag brilliant with
Got to make sure that you use a lowercase I. Otherwise, it's going to be confusing. Then it's going to look like 3 L's or 3 1s all in a row. But okay,
yeah,
we can workshop these things.
They both have I's next to the L's. That's a good point. So yeah, they would have to be mostly lowercase. But yeah, I mean, I think that the biggest question for the Yankees is the bullpen, which generally it is. I think they're the number 10 bullpen in the majors right now, according to MLB.com. But I think that they usually end up making it work, and they find someone at the deadline, or they add someone. And I think that yes, the Dodgers and Braves, or the Dodgers and Astros, are pretty hard to beat, for the last 5 years or however long it's been. But I think that at some point, like the Braves broke in a couple years ago, and I think the Yankees could break in and do that this year.
All right, well, we're going coastal bias, I guess. I'm going with the San Diego Padres as my pick. I just think the Padres, they pushed all of the chips. Like, I don't know if they have any chips. They have some chips left, like Jackson Merrill's still around. They just signed Ethan Salas. Like, they have something left in their farm system. I think it's a little bit better than people think. But like, you go out and get Juan Soto last year, and you get him for multiple years. When they got him, they could have waited for the offseason. They could have waited a little bit while longer. They acquired him when they did. They went out and signed Xander Bogaerts this offseason, which I think was one of the surprising moves of the offseason. They inked Manny Machado to an extension with like days after he said, I'm going to opt out. They're like, no, you're here for the long haul too.
Not to mention they're trying to do the same with Juan Soto as
right.
well.
Yeah, we'll see how that's
bottomless pits of money in San Diego now, which is great. It's awesome.
I don't know if it's bottomless pits or just like willingness to spend and just be like, hey, we have this money. We may be running at a loss, but if it ends in a commissioner's trophy, that's the goal. If we have, a big parade going through the downtown San Diego, that's what we're aiming for here. So like some of the other moves they made, they picked up Josh Hader last year. Now you get a full year of Josh Hader as your closer. That's a pretty big deal. Having a shutdown closer going into the October is big. They addressed their rotation this offseason, signing Michael Wacha, signing Seth Lugo. They're a little bit deeper in the bullpen. I think kind of the issue here is like what happens when that depth is tested and you really need to dig into your AAA depth because it gets dry really quickly. But we even saw like Jay Groom was fighting for a rotation spot this year after he had some really mundane years in Boston, comes over to the Padres, adds a little extra gas to his fastball. Maybe he's kind of turned a corner here. I don't know. They just seem so well set up. You're getting Fernando Tatis Jr. back in a few months. They just have the pieces to compete this year. Now, what happens going down the line? Like what happens when Bogaerts is getting a little bit older and maybe Juan Soto is going away, and like what happens? I mean, one of the signings they made was Nelson Cruz, who is 42 years old. Like it's a fun signing, and the guy is just going to be signed to stand there in the box and swing as hard as he can. But that's a move you make for 2023. I think if they're anything close to like maybe missing out on the playoffs come the trade deadline, they're going to push the chips in again. I had this fun debate on a Padres podcast of a while back of like, let's say you're the Padres, you have Jackson Merrill who's having a great year, but you need a starting pitcher. Corbin Burns is available. Do you trade Jackson Merrill for Corbin Burns? Maybe they do, because again, so many chips are in the middle this year. I don't think they can leave anything off the table. So I think, given how deep the lineup is, given the additions they've made to the rotation, given the general state of the bullpen, I think the Padres are really well set up to compete this year and surpass the Dodgers in the NLS and then go on and win the Fall Classic in what I think could be revenge for 1998, 25 years later, by facing the Yankees in the World Series.
I like it.
1998 was only like 5 or 7 years ago.
That wasn't
Yeah,
25
so it's fresh in the
years
minds
ago.
of all
Yeah.
San Diegans, I think. Yeah.
It just happened. It's, we're still all eagerly awaiting the Seinfeld finale. By the way, the San Diego Padres, if you want a team, maybe you don't have an allegiance to a team, maybe you don't, and you're looking for a team that is doing things to win baseball games in a way that you probably wish, if you do have a team, your team was doing them. Peter Seidler, who's the chairman of that team, is a guy who has survived a couple of different cancer scares and essentially over the last few years has said like, hey, I can't take it with me. I want to win a World Series for this city. I want to win a World Series for this team. There's a lot of really cool stuff going on in San Diego. And obviously there are things to be discussed and debated about, sports ownership and teams that are spending and teams that aren't spending and all that. But if you're a Padres fan, there's a lot to be really excited about. And for a fan base that has never won a championship, if you want to hop on somebody's bandwagon, there's a lot of people in San Diego who are pretty excited for 2023. All right. Well, we've had 3 people to pick the Yankees. Big surprise on this National Baseball Podcast to win the American League. 2 to win a championship. I am drinking the show before the show Kool-Aid from the last several years. I feel like Sam will be proud of me for doing this. You know who I'm picking, Sam? You want to know? You ready? Oh, you're muted, Sam.
I thought I unmuted myself. The Toronto Blue Jays?
No, but that's a good one. That would have been a good choice. You know, I'm going all in. Chips to the middle of the table, San Diego Padres-esque with the Seattle Mariners, baby.
Also good. Yeah.
Julio! I just like that team. I like what the Mariners are built. Now, obviously, they are in a gauntlet of a division. You've got the reigning World Series champions there. You've got other teams that have been trying to improve themselves. The Texas Rangers have made some moves. The Angels they've made a lot of moves over the last couple of years. They made some moves this offseason. The Angels are whatever the Angels are and whatever they're attempting to be. But last year they started very well. They've got, the 2 greatest players of a generation, yet somehow can't seem to find their way into the playoffs. It's not going to be easy, but what the Mariners have, I really like. Is Julio going to be enough to get a team on his back and into the World Series for the first time in franchise history? I don't know. Teoscar Hernandez is going to play a role. Jared Kelenic is going to play a role, a guy we've talked to on this show before. JP Crawford resurgent over the last couple of years. But that pitching staff, I really, really like. Luis Castillo still around, Robbie Ray, Logan Gilbert, George Kirby. We'll see, I think, among the prospects that the Mariners still have coming up, does Harry Ford make that big leap? Do we see him in Tacoma at some point this season? Bryce Miller and Cole Hancock, their top 2 pitching prospects. What are those guys going to be factoring into potentially a big league rotation or the bullpen going toward the postseason? They were both, AA guys, college guys who I would think have the ability this year to reach the major league level. There's so much to feel good about with that Mariners team. There's so much fun. I tagged you in a tweet about this today, Sam. We talked to Julio less than 3 years ago. He's being profiled by GQ now as the next star that baseball needs. Like, there's just so much to love about that Mariners team. Maybe it's because I spent so much time around Ryan Rowland-Smith over the last month, but I'm going with it. I'm running with the M's this year.
I mean, listen, I think this is the year that like George Kirby could become an ace. And like, if you're looking at that next step for like Cal Raleigh and like, is Jared Kelenic, who is he? Is he the spring version? Like, has he figured something out? If you can get another really, really good outfielder next to Julio, and they brought in Teoscar Hernandez, and like, there's something there. I mean, what this comes down to is like, we're predicting a tournament that's happening months from now.
Right.
So you need a seat at the table. That's really what it's going to come down to. And I think the Mariners are going to have a seat. Now, what moves will they make that none of us can predict at the trade deadline? We'll see. Like, do they flip a Harry Ford for something that's going to be like super helpful for the run? Who knows? I mean,
and again, another team that has not been afraid to make moves in the last several years.
The untold, Jerry DiPoto
traded me and Sam several times.
Yes, and thankfully they traded us back here because otherwise we wouldn't have gotten to episode 400. But yeah, no, they will have a seat at the table, and that's all you need. A chip in a chair, as they say in poker, and they will have more than that.
And so, of course, 7 months from now, we will be congratulating the World Series champion Detroit Tigers or something like that.
Probably, well, like none of us picked the Braves or the Astros.
Yeah,
I think,
or the Phillies, the reigning National League champions.
Yeah, Kelsie was saying like you look at who's the favorites right now, and I think it comes down to those two, right? Like it's the Astros or the Braves. A lot of people think, and I'm not knocking those two, and I think sometimes there gets to be a little bit of fatigue with the favorites. And that's why maybe we all chose differently. But again, like crazier things have happened. I don't think anybody would have predicted the Phillies going to the World Series when we were all doing this last March. So
big congratulations to the 2023 World Series champion Miami Marlins. It's going to be
or if it's the Tigers, you know what? I'll be very happy.
Yeah, I'd be happy with that.
Spencer Torkelson, who's
talking about a long-starved fan base, and a couple of guys on that roster who have been on the show before. Sounds like fun. Or the St. Louis Browns. Can't count them out.
I thought Josh was going to go with St. Louis Cardinals with that, like say Walker, lead him, and then I thought maybe the Orioles. I guess if you said the Browns, but maybe one day.
People think of St. Louis as a Cardinals town, but I got a feeling any day now those Browns are just gonna really win all the hearts and minds there.
There was
that was my grandmother's favorite team, so that's nice.
I told you.
There was a story on defector.com today, which was titled "How the Cardinals Nearly Lost the War for St. Louis." So an interesting one that you can check out.
So far.
Well, so far, that is true. Bobo Newsom, by the way, in the Wikipedia page about Bobo Newsom, so you know this is accurate, he said before Game 5 of the 1940 World Series, quote, "I'll win this one for my daddy." When manager Del Baker named Newsom to take them out again for Game 7, he was asked by reporters, "Will you win this one for your daddy too?" And his response, and Josh, if you do not get this quote from an athlete at some point this year, I will be furious. He responded, quote, "Why no, I think I'll win this one for old Bobo." You better get that out of somebody this year. First, we need to find a player who's nicknamed Bobo. But after that,
I was going to say that's going to be
Bo Naylor. Well, he's not a
Yeah.
pitcher, but he can do it. He can step up to the
Bo
plate.
Naylor saying, "Well, no, I'm going to win this one for old Bobo." I just don't see him saying it.
Well, maybe Josh Naylor will say it in honor of his brother,
That could happen.
or Denzel Clark for his cousin. Yeah.
you know, I follow a dog named Bobo on Instagram. Maybe people they'll just get really fired up for Bobo the Red Heeler who lives in Vancouver. It seems like a Blue Jays player. Sam is so irritated right now.
I'm not. I swear.
Looking at Sam's face in the little box on my screen, he's like, "Shut
I bet we
up."
could get a Canadians player to say that they would win it for Bobo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true.
Exactly.
All right,
Let's
good.
get,
We're gonna get on this.
Stevenson, one of the coaches.
We're gonna make that one of the games of the month this year, just so we can all go to Vancouver and get somebody on the record saying, "I'll win
See
it
if
for
anybody
Bobo."
says I'm gonna win this one for old Bobo.
It would be the interview would be like 40 minutes long, and most of it would be like, anybody else? You gonna win it for anybody else? Anybody else?
What if I just happened to show you a picture of this dog and you read his name? Would that be acceptable? All right, you
He's not
two.
young. Yeah.
We're very excited to write down all these projections and be wrong on 100% of them as we are from year to year. But thanks for swinging by. I'm excited for 7 months from now when we get to look back and say, "Woof, way wrong on that."
Yeah, I feel honored to have been on the 400th episode. I didn't even realize until I walked on set, or the virtual set, I suppose. It's 400, Josh. We did it with them.
Did it.
At long last, I've been counting down the days for this one. I've been like, okay, 397. I got to find a way to be on not just Ghosts, but get on to episode 400. And then this email or Slack or whatever came, and I said, "Oh, there we go, 400."
And suspiciously enough, you will hear someone that sounds just like Josh Jackson right after this momentary pause. Kelsie Hennigan, Josh Jackson. Thanks, you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
TaxAct knows filing taxes can be confusing, so we have live experts on hand who can help answer any questions you may have. Questions like, can I claim my SUV as my home office if I answer work emails in my car? If I adopted 12 dogs this year, can I list them as dependents? And, am I doing this right or am I doing this very, very wrong? Our experts have the answers to those questions and many others. Tax Act. Let's get them over with.
We interrupt this podcast to bring you another thrilling edition of Ghosts of the Miners. Now, here's your correspondent and host, Joshua Jackson.
Welcome back to Ghosts of the Miners, in which all of you out there in Radioland must identify the legitimate historical ball club hiding amidst the fraudulent pair. One once made fans hoot and holler all day long. The others never even got started. In the last segment, I asked you which of the following minor league baseball teams did at one time exist. A, the Spokane Bunchgrassers. B, the Bowling Green Bluegrassers. C, the Chino Coyote Brushers. You really have it all together if you picked A, the Spokane Bunchgrassers, who grew on the ball fields of the Pacific Northwest at the end of the 19th century. The 1890s were exciting times for the Lilac City on the Spokane River, what with the founding of Gonzaga University in 1887, Washington's statehood being established in 1889, and the rebuilding and redevelopment of much of the town following the Great Spokane Fire of '89. Let's get into the weeds with the Bunchgrassers. They drew their name from the clumped-up vegetation that was a new sight to settlers coming west from the Great Plains and the east, and the club was a perennial part of the Spokane baseball landscape from 1890 to 1892. The inaugural Bunchgrassers Club was green, but it didn't let anybody tread upon it. Charter members of the Pacific Northwest League, the Bunchgrassers won a title in '90, the circuit's first season, uprooting the Tacoma Daisies, playing more colorfully than the Seattle Blues, and beating up on the Portland Gladiators to go a league best 61-34. Those 90 Bunchgrassers got bunches of knocks from once and future big leaguer Piggy Ward, who hogged hits to lead the league with a .368 average and 97 runs scored. Meanwhile, Spokane hurler Jack Huston posted a loop-leading 28 victories, and Thomas Turner paced the Pacific Northwest League with 12 homers and 123 hits. The Bunchgrassers' title run was nearly stomped out at mid-season, though, as Turner and fellow outfielder Fred Jevney reportedly went up into the ladies' section of the stands and offended fair women with foul language during a July home game against Seattle. Manager John Barnes fined the duo, who were outraged by the fine and in turn refused to play if it were to be levied. Turner soon broke, paying the fine and issuing an apology. But Jevney was given the heave-heavney. And that brouhaha wasn't the Bunchgrassers' only kerfuffle from the championship debut year. Stories in the sporting news from the 1890 to 91 offseason allude to Spokane players having had trouble being paid. Those issues may or may not have had something to do with the Bunchgrassers looking patchier and weaker over the next 2 years. Not even bringing in former Cincinnati Red Stocking standout Ollie Beard to manage in '92 could save the hairs on Spokane's chinny chin chin. They went 29-46, and the whole league folded. And that's how the Bunchgrassers got mowed. Now, on to the question for next time. Which of these clubs pulled heartstrings in the minors of yesteryear? A, the Virginia Lovers. B, the Rosendale Romeos. C, the Lewiston Cupids. Want to know the answer? Pucker up. Or tune into the next Ghosts of the Miners. But for now, you'll have to excuse me. My producer Ben Hill is getting ready for April showers, and he's all out of soap.
Always one of our most entertaining episodes of every calendar year, our 2023 predictions. I can't wait to, as I said, be wrong on all of them.
I really couldn't believe that Josh was sticking with the Browns. Like
he really
I thought
did.
he was going to say something, and then he didn't. And
yeah,
I
he
was
really
just
did. Just
no,
like
he's gonna...
stop and just like, all right, moving on. Who do you guys have? And I was like, wait a minute, is that your serious pick? The St. Louis Browns? That's what
Maybe
you're
we
going
should have
with?
just let him keep it, like that would have been very on brand. We could have just gone seamlessly right into ghosts,
Oh,
screw our
man.
predictions, and just said like, well, there was our St. Louis Browns correspondent. Now back to
Samuel, do you know who the St. Louis Browns currently are?
yeah. I mean, Kelsie mentioned this, didn't she? The Baltimore Orioles.
Oh, did she? I missed
Well, she
that.
mentioned it, but she said like I didn't know if you were taking the
Yeah.
Baltimore Orioles, and then she
Okay.
didn't explain.
Right,
why.
right.
So yes. So
Uh,
I thought that was maybe a backdoor version of him being like, oh, this is the year Adley Rutschman's going to be an all-world catcher.
That would have been a pretty great way to segue into a surprise pick for the World Series.
Yes.
Let's call Josh back right now and have him
We're going
recut
to
it.
scrap the segment and do it all over again just so we can actually hit his line about the Baltimore Orioles.
Oh man, it is very funny to me that if you Google, well, at least on my version of Google, I'm assuming that it's different on like every browser, but on Chrome right now, if you Google St. Louis Browns and it gives you the suggested things that come up, the like second suggestion says St. Louis Browns, Baltimore Orioles baseball team. And then when you Google it, all of the results that come up are like a Browns Orioles mix, which is kind of cool. And it gives you the Orioles upcoming schedule as though there's like some confused person looking for the St. Louis Browns schedule. And it's like, oh, it's this team now? I got to they've been, since 1954, they've been the Baltimore Orioles. Okay.
Who are the Browns playing on Tuesday? Oh, wait a second.
Wow, they're opening in Boston as a completely different team. Well, this was fun, as it always is. And
This is fun. Which prediction do you feel like best about?
I mean, I don't want to say Corbin Carroll, but probably Corbin Carroll.
Yeah, I think
It just seems like if I had to go on like odds on accuracy, yeah, probably Corbin Carroll.
Yeah, and I've kind of become leery of that in the last couple of days where like everybody's making these predictions about rookie of the year and we all feel like it's going to be these two guys. I mean,
right.
And I almost feel like I have to stick to my guns on it because I contribute to a ranking in which it says Gunnar Henderson's number 1 and Corbin Carroll's number 2 for all of baseball. If I go against that, then why am I not ranking Jordan Walker above Corbin Carroll?
True.
That being said, yeah, I mean, it's just all the pieces are there.
I was surprised that nobody went Jordan Walker. I was surprised by that.
Yeah, and I think if we did a panel of 10, we would get 2 people saying that, but 4, it's
a good point.
But no, it's.
What about you? What do you feel most confident in?
I think it's probably Corbin Carroll.
Yeah,
to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I think Gunnar Henderson hasn't had the greatest spring, so like maybe something could happen there. Volpe has that momentum. Yoshida's a really good prospect. Tristan Casas, who we didn't talk about, is going to be a full-time first baseman, and this could be the year where his power really pops. Like some weird stuff could happen in the AL. Certainly, some weird stuff could happen in the NL. We didn't talk about Kodai Senga,
right?
Another Japanese,
right?
talent.
Another one,
yeah, who's very veteran. I really don't think he should be considered rookie, though. I get it.
That's the tricky thing with picking players who come over from NPB or the KBO or wherever, because they're coming in at such an advanced state of their career. And I know that was a conversation with Ichiro. When Ichiro came over and blows the doors off of baseball in 2001, there were people who said, well, this guy should not be eligible for the Rookie of the Year award because even though he's technically coming over as a rookie, he's also 27 years old. Not only did he win Rookie of the Year, by the way, but he also won the MVP. He was a Gold Glover. He was a Silver Slugger. He was an All-Star. So I think he put a lot of those things to rest. But there was an argument that you could kind of understand of like, yeah, this guy's coming over. He's played high-level baseball for almost a decade already. It's very different from a Corbin Carroll who's jumping in and really getting his feet wet for the first time. But it's an interesting conversation too.
Yeah, I would almost prefer it, and this is a longer conversation for a different day, maybe episode 800, where like the Rookie of the Year stipulations were the same that we use. Like if a guy is signed as an international prospect and he has to count towards the bonus pool, like Ohtani did. Ohtani had Japanese experience, but still had to be signed through that process. Then they can be considered a rookie. If you're somebody like a Yoshida or a Senga, you don't get that status. But it's really not something that matters that much at the end of the day. Like if those guys win Rookie of the Year, it's because they earned it, because they were really good as first-year players, and that's not easy to do, to change entire countries and hit 300 or have a 2.50 ERA.
Yeah.
So I don't want to split hairs too much on that, but it's funny trying to break down that stuff and compare a 21-year-old versus a 31-year-old.
Either way, man, you know what excites me most? Baseball is in a very good place.
It is.
And
It is.
we've had this conversation before on this show, and I've talked about it, some in our World Baseball Classic broadcasts and elsewhere. I am sort of done with the era in baseball and the segment of baseball that is constantly apologizing for baseball or complaining about rules changes or complaining about bat flips or whatever. There have never been better athletes, more talented players, more exciting teams, or better storylines in Major League Baseball than what we will find in 2023 and beyond. And that translates down to the minor leagues as well. This game is as good as and as healthy as it has ever been. Do I think we'll see some tweaks with, the pitch timer and the shift rules and all that? Yeah, sports evolve, and that's a good thing about sports. The NBA and college basketball didn't have the three-pointer 40 years ago, 50 years ago.
Didn't have the shot clock.
Yeah, the shot clock,
stay
exactly.
On pitch timers. Yeah.
Sports evolve, and that is a good thing. I could not be more excited for this year for Major League Baseball, for minor league baseball. I know you feel the same way. And let's get it rolling, man. I'm pumped.
Yeah. One thing I will add on to that, tell your friends. If you're listening to this podcast, don't tell them about this podcast necessarily, although we would gladly welcome you if you did. Bring in more people. But I think, and Tyler, we have non-baseball people in our lives. You try to explain to them, not as many as there used to be.
Not to.
But you explain to them, hey, the pitch timer is coming to the major leagues. This is a game that takes 2.5 hours now. You go to a minor league game, it's been at 2.5 hours for years now. This is just what baseball is now. It's crisp, it's moving. The players are better than ever. They're athletic, more athletic than ever. They throw harder than ever. They do all the things that you grew up loving.
Yeah.
In the 90s,
and they do it all better.
Or the 2000s. Yeah, and they do it better than those guys did.
It's really amazing to me. I watch baseball games now, especially through the World Baseball Classic, through the playoffs last year, but even regular season games. I watch baseball games now and I think, imagine complaining about this. There are things that need to be tweaked and changed in every sport. That's fine. Keeping the game moving is good. More action is good. I'm not wild about certain rules compared to other rules. That's fine. That discourse is what's fun for debating in sports. But the sport of baseball has never been better or more exciting than it is today, than it is going into this season. And I can't wait to get it rolling. And as you are hearing this, it's opening day. So you've probably been watching baseball, or you're going to watch baseball, and you're set, like a lot of us in this world, for 6 months of sheer disappointment. But that's what's fun about baseball, Sam, right?
Disappointment in your own team, not in the sport.
Not in the sport, just in your own team.
Yeah. And expand your reach, find a fun player. We just went through the WBC. We talked about plenty about that last week, but there's going to be Ohtani's going to be playing somewhere. If you're not already an Angels fan, go watch as much Ohtani as you can. Go watch as much Mike Trout as you can. Go watch as much Julio and Manny Machado. I'm saying a lot of West Coast people.
I was going to say it's a lot of
Anthony Volpe, Jordan Walker. Yeah. I mean, all of these guys.
I would like Yankees fans and Anthony Volpe fans specifically to know I love Anthony Volpe. I love that kid. He was fantastic for us to talk to whenever we talk to him. I think he's a great player. I think he's going to have a terrific career.
One of the most patient interviews we've ever had.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I love Anthony Volpe. I'll be very excited to see what Anthony Volpe can do. Nothing of what I said about Anthony Volpe winning Rookie of the Year was about him. It was just about, lazy voters. So I just wanted to clarify that in case anybody was like, "Who is this guy out here dunking on Anthony Volpe?" I love Anthony Volpe.
What is that? Anthony Volpe's uncle in New Jersey?
Well, I was going to say he is a New Jersey kid. No, Sam, don't try to pin me down in offensive East Coast impressions. How dare you? How dare you?
Well, I was going to say you're both Italian, so you can.
And my mom
is
my mom's a New Yorker.
Yeah,
we're both. We're in. I too was once a much heralded Yankee shortstop prospect. We have a lot of similar characteristics, me and Anthony Volpe. Obviously, this is something that goes back a long ways.
You're both in your early 20s,
right? Totally. Just good looking. Tremendously athletic. Cool dog. What's his dog's name? You posted the
Jedi.
Jedi. That's right. I remembered it was Star Wars related. I couldn't remember what the dog's name was.
Yeah.
Both dog lovers. We're pretty much the same person when you think about it.
You guys stay close to home? You're still around your home. He's still
I
around
am.
his
That's
home.
true. He's still around his
Yeah,
home.
I'm just
We're
saying.
making pretty much the same money. No, it's just another guy who's on the list of people that you should be extremely excited about seeing in 2023 and beyond.
And if I may wrap this up completely, episode 400, somebody who's been on this show, right? Like how many guys, you were talking about Julio before, we've had on this show before. We mentioned Spencer Torkelson very briefly. He was on the show at one point.
Adley Rutschman was
so
on this
many
show.
of these guys. I was looking up, I was going to make my AL Cy Young pick prediction the other day. And I picked Dylan Cease, who I think could have a really good year for Chicago. He's been on this show before. I forgot about that interview. And then I was just like, oh yeah, here's me talking to Dylan Cease, which is like episode 160 or something like that. There's just so many people. And I know we've pivoted a little bit. We talk to a lot more minor league industry folks nowadays, but like that's important too. The one thing about this show that I've always been most proud of is it wraps the entire minor league baseball experience into one package, which is not something I think you're going to find anywhere else. And when it's like I said, one of the most proud things I have about the show and about what I do week to week, and starts with working with you, Tyler, working with Ben every week. And here's to 400 more and then 400 more after that.
Absolutely, buddy. You can get in touch with us again, podcast at MILB.com. If you would like, we got the fans episode coming up, got our opening day episode coming up for the minor league season. All of that is ahead. And our biggest thanks, as always, as every week, to you for tuning in. For Josh Jackson, for Kelsie Hennigan, Benjamin Hill, Sam Dykstra, everybody else on our staff, wrapping up this week's episode of the official podcast of Minor League Baseball. My name is Tyler Maughan. We'll catch you next week. Enjoy opening day.